The house always wins in the end. I personally think that the world is set up by a set of rules. Sometimes we humans sort of mess those rules up like the way we mess up the environment. There's a balance, there's a harmony. When you look at the galaxy spiraling around, you see there's a form of order being achieved throughout the chaos. So this is what my understanding is of life and how the casino always wins in the end. So if you look at the casinos, recently they had record-breaking numbers. I think they made one group about $8 billion in the quarter or 3-month period. And so people understand that they could go to the casino, they might win several times in a row. But over time, the way statistics work, the casino has the advantage. So over time, the more times you play and the more and more often people play, eventually the casino starts to win because of that statistical advantage that they have. They say one of the worst things that could happen to you when you first go to the casinos and gamble is to win. Because if you win, you actually think that you could beat the system. And you get bitten by this bug, and you keep chasing to try to win, and over time you'll just start losing and losing. And sometimes that loss is a little bit, some spending money. Sometimes that loss is great. You get into debt. Sometimes people lose houses. Unfortunately, some people get in so far over their head, they even take their own lives out of the inability to know what to do next, having lost it all. So the first time I went to Las Vegas, I was in college and I just turned 21, and my friends and I, we all decided to go for the weekend. And I didn't have much money, and I put aside $200, and I thought, wow, you know, I'll spend this over the weekend. I'll play $1 here or there and gamble. And in the end, I got there, fresh off the airplane, make it to the casino. I stopped at the roulette table, which is the table where the ball spins around, and you could choose black or you could choose red and make what people think is a 50-50 bet. But in fact, I didn't know at the very beginning. There's also 2 green numbers, so it's really not 50-50. The casino will get their advantage in the end. Or you could bet on the number and have a 1 in 40 chance. They'll pay out if you guess that number randomly. And sometimes they'll even show you the board of what the last few wins have been. Red, 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 red. Oh, it's going to be black. When in fact, each new roll is a completely independent event, so it really doesn't matter what the last 20 or 30 or the last 2 or 3 were. But in any case, I went and sat down, and in about 10 minutes, I lost all my money. And in fact, it might have been the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I didn't get this bug and start to think I could win and play the casino. And I learned that I am a type A personality. I get into things or addicted very easily. Don't start gambling. So that was a good lesson for me. So as a teacher, I'd like to apply this little lesson to life. And you know, first of all, I didn't even know the game I was playing. Right? Typically you know your life. You don't know life. And we tend to think we might know how the world works when we only really know how our world works. But my first mistake was I didn't even know how the games were played. And I didn't realize that I was playing one of the worst statistical games as far as the player winning that are in Las Vegas. I think craps and some other games where you roll the dice are actually a higher chance of winning. So first of all, I didn't even know how the game works. And I was sitting here playing the game thinking I would win. But in trying to apply this to real life, I think of students and even young people, even adults who do things that are not good and things that are going to get them into trouble in the long run. And I think one of the worst things that could ever happen to you is if you get away with it at first. And you know, as I've gotten older, I've come to the conclusion that getting caught is not a bad thing. We think of it when we're in the middle of it as bad, and we get so upset and embarrassed and disappointed, but in fact, it's the best thing that could ever happen to you. Getting caught is an opportunity to change. And man, if we could really understand that and even appreciate it, getting caught is the opportunity to change. Which is one of the reasons when I catch my own students and happen to bump into them cutting class or going to McDonald's or doing something that's inappropriate, I take it very seriously. because it's my opportunity to help them get back on the right track. I don't want to punish them. I don't want to make them feel bad. I want to get them back on the right track. So when you first start to do little things here and there, cut class, break a rule, sometimes you get away with it and you beat in the casino. And you think, wow, I could keep doing this. I could keep winning. I could keep beating the casino. And each time you're doing it, you have this chance to stop and to get back on the right track. And eventually you lose some money, you get caught. And again, you have a chance there to stop playing this game, leave the casino. Because the casino you're playing is going to get you off track with your future, off track with discipline. It's going to possibly even end you as a person who's addicted to something. So maybe you take a drink, or you try a drug, or you cut a class, or you cheat and get away with it. The thing we forget is eventually the casino always wins. Over time, cheating, cutting class, doing drugs, doing things like having alcohol or other things that we might do that are bad for us or that are just against the rule. Over time, it'll always mess you up. It'll ruin your perspective. It'll ruin your understanding of yourself. It could ruin your health. And everyone likes to think at the time, no, I can handle this. I could beat the casino. You know, one thing as an adult I wish we could be more honest about to our kids is, maybe another video I'll make, you know, when you're younger, you tend to think, man, my parents are hypocrites, or these adults are hypocrites because they're, for example, they're telling me not to smoke, but my mom smokes. Not my mom, but just as an example. And so you think, man, these are hypocrites, and I'm going to do it too, and you guys tell me do as I say, not as I do. And, you know, I wish we could just be honest and say, yes, you're right. I am telling you to do as I say, but it's not because I'm cool, and it's not because I'm tough. It's because I'm weak. Son, daughter, I'm weak. You don't understand how difficult it is to break a bad habit. How much and how badly I want to change, and I can't even stop it. So I'm begging you to do the right thing and not even get involved in these things, like drinking, or drugs, or lying, or cutting class, doing things that are not good for you. Because everyone thinks they could beat the casino and they have a system. And eventually it always comes to call where the casino wins. And I wish I could tell you, son or daughter, that I want to stop doing these things. I'm telling you to stop because I want to tell myself to stop, but I can't. Because I'm human. Because I'm weak. Because these things with addiction and with bad habits are often really, really, really hard to break. And so I'm trying to get you to not even start. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. I'm just weak and I'm human. And it would be very hard for us to swallow our pride and to be honest like that. Maybe it would do a little bit of good. Think of drug rehab. Off the top of my head, I think 90 or 93% who finally lose mostly everything and get to the point where they want to change and they go to rehab, 93% end up backsliding and getting right back into it. So think of that. Even those who really want to change, really, really, really are at the point where they're ready to change, over 90% of them can't, because that's how difficult it is. That's how easy it is to fall into these traps and to be human. So a lot of times we think we're getting away with it, and we think we're getting away with it when we're doing things in life. And as this older person, not necessarily that old, but as a teacher who's been teaching for over 20 years, we tend to see patterns in where those roads go, where cheating and lying and cutting class become bigger and bigger things and can suck you into bigger and bigger bets because you think you're winning and you think you're beating the casino. And then eventually, you might come to the point where you lose everything. You might lose your freedom. You might get kicked out of school. You might get incarcerated. But there's something that I lost. Go back to my story. When I was first in Las Vegas, and I had $200, and I gambled it, and I lost it in roulette, the little spinning wheel with the ball. What did I lose? What did I really lose? $200? No. I lost something even more important, something, the most important thing maybe. I lost self-control. And the thing is that playing these games of addiction, cutting class, drinking, other things, big and small, you're playing this bet and gambling with your own self-control. And some people get so bitten by that bug that they can't help themselves and they go full-blown gambler. They can't handle it. I have a friend who collects rent near a casino in Los Angeles, and sometimes they don't have money for rent. They're trying to play them in poker chips, but they're so out of control, and their whole family, not only themselves, their whole family is suffering. So really what you have to lose isn't just the bets that you're playing. It's actually losing your self-control. It's losing the truth and clarity. It's losing the ability to even see what you're doing to yourself, because we all know when we're addicted and in the middle of a bad habit, we often don't see the harm it's causing ourselves or others. To the extreme case, some of the people who are addicted to drugs, and everyone around them can see that their health is suffering and that they have scabs on their skin and they look bad, but they don't see it themselves. I had a homeless person talk to me about that, and he would look at his hands and say, you know, in this moment I can see what I'm doing to myself. There's scabs everywhere, and I just don't know why in the moment we can't see it. And I think what happens is when you're off track emotionally even, but especially with addiction, you can't really see what matters. And you have this inability to value what's really valuable, like your health, like your well-being, like the well-being of others. And so when you're suffering and addicted, you often can't really even see how to make the good choices and decisions because you can't see what really matters. You lose sight of it. And so that's the danger, is over time, when you're doing these little things and gambling, you're risking you losing your self-control, and you're risking one day not being able to see what's even good for you and your family and how to make a good choice or a good decision. You know, and I think a lot of us who share things, we're doing so because we went through these mistakes and because we had bad habits and because we've seen firsthand ourselves or in those that we love around us the consequences of playing against the casino and even thinking you're going to win. But in the end, the casino always comes to collect. And over time, it always wins. And this is why the truth, telling the truth, doing the right thing, it's so important. Because you're not just risking getting caught, you're risking your self-control one day and your ability to even see what's wrong and right and how to make a good choice for yourself or for others. So I hope we can stop and consider every now and then that these games are far more serious. Yes, you could go bet $1 here or there and maybe you're not going to get swept into the gambling addiction, or you could cut class or do a few bad things and maybe you do have the opportunity to stop, and you do. But be very, very careful, because it's a very difficult job to break a cycle or a bad habit or an addiction. And none of us who've fallen into bad habits or addictions wanted them to happen. And most of us thought we could control it and keep it under hand. But eventually life and the casino always catches up with you.